Sure, you probably heard this saying before. There's no such thing as a dumb question, but you know what? Hey, today I think I'm going to try to take a swing at this. You ever feel better after laughing? Yeah, I know, right? But I want to get to the bottom of this. It's like, okay, everybody feels better after laughing, all right? You know it might be down in the dumps. You might be feeling a little bit bad about yourself. You might be telling yourself a really sad story about your current situation, okay? And then you just turn on some comedy, okay? You have a laugh. You listen to your favorite podcast or your show or something like that, and somebody tells a joke. You immediately start to feel just maybe even just a little bit better. Somebody goes on a good roll. You feel a little bit better than that. And then eventually, you know what, you're just laughing, having a good time, wondering why you even felt like crap to begin with. So what are the pathways there that engage, that really act as laughter being a medicine of sorts? Maybe even some people will tell you laughter is the best medicine. Ha 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 ha. Ugh. Saturday nights were very special nights in our household when I was 16. I'm not as old as this author, but we'll just follow along. For me, when I was growing up, it was probably Friday, like that TGIF block of like gosh, what was on at the time? Sabrina the Teenage Witch, was that Family Matters or something like that? There were all of those ABC wholesome mid to late 90s sitcom comedies that would come on in the evening, and they were great and they were fun. I was never one to be watching Saturday Night Live or anything like that. But again, we're just reading an article from an author. This is their experience. This is their truth. It was a difficult time. My mother was dying of breast cancer. Oh God, there was very little laughter or humor during the last summer of 1973, except for Saturday nights at 9 p.m. That's when Mary Tyler Moore's show was on. We would all gather around the television and forget about the pain and trouble. Ted Knight, well, how'd you like to mow my lawn? Was our star. He played Ted Baxter, the bumbling buffoon of the newscaster, whose comic genius paid off incredibly on the incredible writing to delivery, rarely seen humor. His performance demanded that we all watch him forget about their problems and if only for a few moments. And then Ted Knight was also the foil to Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack, which is terrific, by the way. Laughter releases nitric oxide, which relaxes blood vessels and can reduce blood pressure. A Japanese study in the Journal of Epidemiology in 2020 showed that cardiovascular events, such as heart attacks and strokes, were fewer in people who laughed more than those who laughed less. Another fascinating report from Norway also shows the importance of good humor on longevity. An article published in a Psychosomatic Medicine in 2016 concluded that the cognitive component of the sense of humor is positively associated with survival from mortality related to cardiovascular disease and infection in women, with the infection-related mortality in men. The findings indicate that a sense of humor is a health-protecting cognitive coping resource. Charlie Chaplin once said, "In order to truly laugh, you need to be able to take your pain and play with it." Exactly. That's why I think, as always, nothing ever should be off limits when it comes to laughing, because if you hold things up as a certain unassailable goats of society, like just the sacred goat that's out there that cannot be slaughtered, you just give it a certain amount of reverence, a certain amount of just incredulity that you just can't poke through. And if you hold it up like that, it can't be scrutinized, and then you don't fully understand it, and then you start to fear it. And if you want more of an explanation on why fearing things is bad and not great, check out yesterday's video, or just kind of run it through a thought experiment in your old dome, and you'll figure out that laughing, mocking, joking about literally everything is totally okay, in my opinion. Having a good sense of humor is a lot more than just laughing at a joke. It's a very effective way of coping with stress. It can also significantly help cognition as well as memory. Dr. Guvinder Singh Bains of Loma Linda University, I trust him, he has 3 names and he sounds Indian, found that elderly patients who watch a funny video can improve their short-term memory and improve their ability to learn. A study he led, which was published in Advances in Mind-Body Medicine in 2014, found that humor therapies can be developed to help age-associated memory deficiencies. Has anyone ever noticed during many eulogies, a person speaking may tell a funny story about a recently deceased? Light humor can help alleviate so much pain. Yeah, exactly. And everybody knows that this is a sad situation. So, you know, if you just crack a joke, even if it's just an attempt at a bad joke, or if it falls flat, you're doing a great service that's out there. and you're not, depending on the context of the joke, it's like, oh, I see a great turnout for Jim here today. It's just sad that his mistress couldn't make the event. Still a very funny joke, and it would take a lot of cojones to be saying, but if it's a pastor with an adulterous past, maybe take it back to the writer's room. Has anybody noticed how tough peanuts are to get into an airplane, or how tightly they're wrapped in their little package? I've been living in Los Angeles for several years. I haven't. Northern Alberta, you guys know. And coming off a very early morning in 1986, I went to Zucky's Deli in Santa Monica. That's nice. I was still in scrubs, exhausted, and wanted my French toast. I was still skinny back then. I noticed a man sitting alone directly across from me, and I realized it was Ted Knight. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't want to bother him. I just said to myself, he was still there. When he finished, I'm going to walk over and say hi. Needless to say, he was still there. I quickly relayed the story of how much his comedy helped us through these tough times. He was very cordial, polite, and smiled, and he said that he really appreciated me telling him that story, and it meant the world to him to hear it. He became very teary-eyed. I shook his hand, and he left. Knight died several months after the encounter from colon cancer. Yeah, that sucks. Very hard to read, but fascinating study. Context matters. The benefit and costs of expressing positive emotions during survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Oh, I couldn't think of a less enjoyable topic to be reading about. Okay, just some light and nighttime reading, I guess. Ugh. Dr. George Bonanna of Columbia University found those who managed to laugh and smile at moments during their interview were more likely to be doing better 2 years after those who had not. That's why I had that diatribe in the middle that nothing should be held up as a sacred goat. And if you think talking about your childhood sexual trauma isn't something that should be joked about because you don't think that there's any benefit to be making light of the situation, there's your proof to the contrary. Humor keeps negative emotions in check and gives us a different perspective, allowing us to see some of the bad things that happen to us and challenge rather than a threat. As a challenge rather than a threat. Humor is a very strong and positive tool for us all. Finding the right place and time is critical. Many physicians and nurses recognize the importance of humor in taking care of their patients. Ask Patch Adams, somebody else who's dead, and the critical importance in helping the elderly cope with illness, loneliness, and stress. Telling a funny story, or better yet, getting a patient to relate a funny story themselves can be therapeutic. Red Skelton, one of the great comedic minds of our times, once said, "I live by this credo. I have a little laugh at life and look around for happiness instead of sadness. Laughter has always brought me out of unhappy situations. Even in your darkest moments, you usually can find something to laugh about if you try hard enough." Yeah, exactly. Always, always, always advocate a good laugh, okay? It's all right if you want to feel bad about yourself for a minute, but if you ever find yourself in a funk, I know sometimes some of these topics aren't that funny, but I always try to work in something just a little bit light, because some of these topics get a little bit heavy, some of these topics get a little bit dry, but if it make you chuckle, if I make you smile every once in a while, that's just me trying to make the world a little bit better than it was yesterday. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.